The researchers enlisted real mothers and infants and quantified their interactions, which fell into four categories. 1. Babies wanted to maximize the amount of time smiling at their mothers. 2. They wanted to maximize the time the mothers smiled at them. 3. They wanted to experience simultaneous smiling, and 4. No smiling at all. L says that, in order to seek protection from their furry foes, birds actually prefer to build their nests in plots of swamp with a resident alligator. In fact, in one study a graduate student planted fake alligators. The birds seem to prefer to build nests close to them. As climate change brings more wildfires to the western United States, the rare fungal infection, valley fever, has also been on the rise. It causes coughs, fevers and chest pain and can be deadly. The culprit fungi thrive in soils in California and the desert southwest. Wildfires appear to stir up and send the soil-loving fungi into the air, where they can enter people's lungs. The Southerners did not accept Lincoln as a president because of certain reasons, based on historical grounds. Southerners wished to protect their rights in the government and become more independent from the North. They considered presidential elections to be unfair. The quest for a user-friendly copyright regime began a decade ago when the Hong Kong government launched a public consultation on copyright protection in the digital environment in December 2006. Although this consultation initially sought to address Internet-related challenges, such as those caused by peer-to-peer file sharing technology, There are perhaps three ways of looking at furniture. Some people see it as purely functional and useful, and don't bother themselves with aesthetics. Others see it as essential to civilized living and concern themselves with design and how the furniture will look in a room. The student exchange program complements formal education, while promoting tolerance, maturity and independence, all highly sought after qualities in today's competitive job market. Living in the host country, not as a tourist or guest but as a member of the community, is what makes the experience both challenging and rewarding. Some of the pain patients may become hooked, or their meds may find their way to friends or relatives who take them recreationally, or a prescription opioid user may transition to heroin. Heroin is just another opioid drug, so the brain doesn't distinguish whether it comes from a pharmacy or from a street drug dealer. In a landmark report published on Monday, the International Financial Institution called on states to reduce global emissions and bridge the development gap to avoid the effects of slow-onset climate change such as water scarcity, decreasing crop productivity, and rising sea levels. The transition from the brick-and-mortar structure to the click-and-order model started with the emergence of information technology and its use in the financial sector. The use of technology in banking has resulted in the availability of multiple delivery channels like ATMs, telebanking, internet banking, and mobile banking. Salamanders are a group of amphibians typically characterized by a lizard-like appearance, with slender bodies, blunt snouts, short limbs projecting at right angles to the body, and the presence of a tail in both larvae and adults. NASA confirms thousands of massive, ancient volcanic eruptions on Mars. Scientists found evidence that a region of northern Mars called Arabia Terra experienced thousands of super eruptions, the biggest volcanic eruptions known, over a 500 million year period. After a pandemic with major social and economic consequences, emerging and developing countries need to swiftly address the two-pronged policy objective: sovereign debt sustainability and being able to fund investment, especially investment with high economic and social returns. Peer checking is a very useful and productive way of developing your reviewing skills. When you read your friend's work, you are assuming a role of the reader and the teacher. If your friend's work is well written, then it will be fluent and easy to read, and you will have no problems understanding the overall content. By this time, however, paleontological momentum had moved to England. In 1812, at Lyme Regis on the Dorset coast, an extraordinary child named Mary Hanning, aged 11, 12 or 13, depending on whose account you read, found a strange fossilized sea monster. The defining question about global order for this generation is whether China and the United States can escape Thucydides's trap. The Greek historian's metaphor reminds us of the attendant dangers when a rising power rivals a ruling power, as Athens challenged Sparta in ancient Greece, or as Germany did Britain a century ago. Every generation inevitably believes that the clothes, manners, and speech of the following one have deteriorated. We would therefore expect to find a respect for conservative language in every century and every culture, and, in literate societies, a reverence for the language of the best authors of the past. People run for many different reasons, namely, for fun, for exercise, to raise money for charities, and so on. Over the past decades, running has become an essential part of many health routines because of the publicity about its beneficial effects. To reduce pollution, it is essential that the town center becomes a car-free zone. A ring road should be built so that cars are diverted away from the town center. The main shopping streets could be converted into pedestrianized areas. From a child's point of view, what is the purpose of TV advertising? Is advertising on TV done to give actors the opportunity to take a rest or practice their lines? Or is it done to make people buy things? Furthermore, is the main difference between programs and commercials that commercials are for real, whereas programs are not, or that programs are for kids and commercials for adults?